I wonder if people think it's 5:30.
The information you sent out said 5. I'm just gonna send a little message to them. Actually, if you want to stop recording until we let people in,
But remind me not to. Oh,
Yeah. I'll remind you to record again.
I'm recording this, so if you don't want to be on it, you can shut your screen off.
Yeah, and the hope of recording these is so that way those that can't make it can access them later on. So that way this material and the information that you're going to receive today can be re-accessed by you or by others that weren't able to make it during this time. And so feel free to engage how you feel most able. And while we're waiting for everyone to arrive, just taking a moment to get a glass of water. Maybe if you've been sitting in the same spot for a while, change locations, shift your body. Feel free to lie down, sit up, stand up, go outside, do what you need to do in order to feel yourself a little bit more present into this moment. And we'll start at the 5:05. So we'll give everyone a couple of minutes to locate.
I bet you some of them are gonna come at 5:30. I think I made it confusing. Oh, there's somebody.
Hi, welcome. We're just giving everyone a moment to locate yourselves in the space and do any little body movements you need to get here, whether that's getting a cup of water, going to the bathroom, sticking your head outside for a moment. And we'll get started in about 1 more minute. So feel free to do what you need to do. Okay. Okay, so we'll begin. So just taking a moment to sit back in your space, seeing how this space is supporting you and allowing you to be here right now. Maybe noticing the textures of the space around you, the places that are soft, or that are hard, or that are bumpy, sharp, or smooth, squishy. And then maybe noticing any smells that you smell as you inhale in through your nose. And as you exhale out, seeing if you can allow your body to relax and settle into this space just a little bit more. Just taking this opportunity, I know for myself, moving from Zoom space to Zoom space, it can be all in our head and kind of zipping around. Or maybe if you have been like physically moving around a lot today already, giving yourself this opportunity just to feel a little bit of stillness. And noticing, where do you see stillness around you? And where do you feel stillness within you? And seeing if you can allow your breath to come into that space and filling that space up. And then exhaling and releasing. And so as we come into this space today, the topic for today's workshop is isolation and loneliness. I'm led by Tracy Chester, who's the director and founder of the San Diego Pain Trauma Institute. And so to kind of locate ourselves in this work, I want to invite everyone to take a moment to reflect on a moment where you felt a sense of belonging. Remembering where you were in that moment. Maybe it was a moment way back when, or maybe it was a moment over this past weekend. But a moment where you felt safe, connected, a part of. And locating yourself in that moment, remembering who is around you. Were there lots of people? Was there only one person? Or maybe just an animal? Or maybe nature? What were the colors that were around you? Was there movement? If there was, what type of movement? Or was there stillness? What were the sounds around you? What did your body want to do in that moment? Did it want to move and take up space? Or did it want to be still and in awe? And allowing that sense of belonging, that moment of belonging to seep into your body, remembering what was alive in your body in that moment, what parts of your body were maybe activated or calm, feeling held, feeling supported. And remembering and welcoming in what was alive in your mind in that moment of belonging. What were the thoughts there? And then welcoming in to your heart, what's alive in your heart when you have that sense of belonging. Did your heart take up a lot of space? Is there a color moving in your heart? And see if you can locate maybe a word or a movement or a symbol of what that experience of belonging felt like for you. And with each inhale, we'll allow that sense of belonging to fill us up. Take up as much space as possible. And then exhale, releasing and relaxing into it. Inhaling in, allowing your shoulders to rise, feeling the space within you grow, knowing that you have access to everything inside of you. And then exhaling, feeling your shoulders drop down, maybe welcoming a couple little head rolls. Loosen and release. And then final inhale, do that big good morning stretch. See if you can take up space above you, to the sides of you, in front of you, and behind you. And then coming down and around into a little self-hug, giving yourself a little squeeze, a little bit of gratitude for showing up today, for taking even just this one little moment of remembering and allowing into your body a little taste, a little remembering of a sense of belonging. And so we'll start off today just going around and welcoming everyone to either you can type it in the chat or you can speak it out loud. Your name, your pronouns, where you're coming in from. Since we're in the Zoom space, we can come in from all sorts of different places. And what is that one word or movement, or maybe it's a noise of what belonging felt like for you? We'll let y'all popcorn in as you want, or you can type it in the chat.
Go on, Christina. Nope, she's frozen. I'll go. I'm Tracy, she, her. What was the other question?
Where are you located right now?
I'm in Carmel Valley, San Diego. And something about the moment of belonging.
Now it's one word or a movement for what?
Oh, Stoke.
Nice. Thanks, Tracy.
You're welcome. I'll pass it to Christina if she's there. But she doesn't seem to be, so I'll pass it to Judy.
Looks like
She's playing
Christina.
the chat. Okay.
Yeah, Christina's here. She's in San Diego. And Judy, if you want to go ahead and go, and then once her stuff is in the chat, I'll read it.
Okay. Hi, my name is Judy. I go by she, her pronouns. I am in Central San Diego, so Mission Valley area. Um, in terms of a word to describe what I feel when I feel a sense of belonging, I'd say just laughing.
After, yeah. Zena, would you like to go next?
Are you talking to me?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yes, hi. My name is Zina, and I live in Rancho Penasquitas. And my English still, it's not my native language, so I didn't quite understand why you're asking like a second question, belonging. What is it?
Yeah. So belonging for you, what does belonging mean?
That's what I'm asking. I don't know what it is. I need to look it up.
Belonging is being part of a group and feeling like you are
Ah,
meant to be there and they're
I
happy to
see.
have you.
I see. I see now. It's to belong. I see.
Yeah.
I got it. Yeah, I have never been in such a group, and I have really problem with many aches and pains. And I was thinking, why not to look it up for this group? Yes, and maybe I will find something helpful for me, plus maybe camaraderie, what would somehow help me, of course, not to feel lonely just with my pain. Yeah, because it's so much true that loneliness and isolation. I have problem with headaches. It's such a disaster for me. Yeah. So I'm really looking forward that if it would be a real good group just to belong to. I have some experience with belonging. Now I know what it is to groups because I have on Zoom Community City College. I'm taking classes. And if you go for many years, somehow you develop camaraderie, and know more or less people. And this is City College for people 55 plus, who really have also many aches and pains. So I know it could be very useful, but yeah, we will see, because who knows for me. Thank you.
You're welcome. I should teach at that school.
Thank you.
Oh, really? And what subject you can teach?
Oh, chronic illness,
What?
chronic pain and chronic illness.
Ah,
Yeah, yeah.
would be
Okay.
really good, because sure, in our
No,
group,
it's okay. It's okay. We'll talk about that later. Natalie, go ahead.
yeah, well, but that's a good idea, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, Zena. And thank you for, I think that there is in Zoom, and you might know this, like a translator at the bottom. That might be helpful as well, because I know sometimes I get talking very quickly and it can be difficult at times to understand what I'm saying, even if you're a native English speaker. So there might be a little translation option on your Zoom to be able to have it written out as well. But thank you for sharing, and I'm so glad you're here. And I'm Natalie Small. I'm coming in from Ocean Beach, San Diego. And she, her, and for me, when I was imagining the sense of belonging, I just felt this sense of relief and release that came through me. And then we also have Christina, she, her, and a sense of belonging is warmth. And so thank you, Christina, for showing up in the ways that you can. I appreciate you being here. Yeah. And so I'm going to turn it over to Tracy Chester, who's a marriage and family therapist and specializes in chronic pain and chronic illness, as well as grief. And she is the founder of the San Diego Pain Trauma Institute. And so thank you, Tracy.
Thank you, Natalie, for doing all of that. She knows I'm tired today. Yeah, hi. I think you guys know me. Xana, it's nice to meet you. Yeah, this is what I do. I'm a trauma therapist, but I help people navigate the health system and to live with chronic illness and pain because it's so hard. So we do different kinds of support groups as well. So I just wanted to put a time together every month for people who are interested. And thanks for coming. I realize it's a holiday weekend, so not a lot of the regulars are not here, but usually there's a few more. So Xana, stick with us. So yeah, next slide. So yeah, it's not a mystery what isolation and loneliness is. I just already talked about myself. The certified surf therapy facilitator is one of our programs. That's really great. Next. So the way that I'm going to structure these I'm writing a book with Christina about medical trauma. And within medical trauma, there are many facets of things that impact us. And my first one and the most impactful one, I think, is isolation. So as I write, I'm going to just present on those particular topics. But in order to do this, everyone needs to know what medical trauma is. And medical trauma is defined as the psychological and emotional distress caused by a negative medical experience. Oh, this is one of these fancy ones. You have to hit return again. This is just kind of one of those diagrams of, I don't even know how to explain them, but you're at the center, and these are what you are active with, but you're overlapping everything. So it's kind of confusing. So, but basically, this is trauma that occurs. Not every appointment is bad, but I know all of us have had difficult appointments, many difficult appointments where you walk out with no answers. And that's sort of one type of trauma. Next slide. So level 1 trauma, go ahead, hit the return.
Excuse me, can I ask something? On my computer, the sound kind of distorted. I can understand it's more or less clear, but still with different annoying timbres. I wonder what other people hear. Is it at Zoom? Because I have a lot experience with Zoom from classes and hear music, and usually it's more clear. So,
I
Well,
can try muting my
but
box.
maybe it's my computer. Maybe it's on my side.
It could, I'm not hearing anything, but I also I didn't mute myself, so I'll mute myself and see if that helps, and let me know if that changes anything.
So they have what we call levels of medical trauma. This is kind of a known thing. Level 1, hit the return. Level 1 are your planned and routine medical procedures, going to your primary care. And this is mental health intervention and wellness. What this means is there's less of a chance you're going to experience trauma in these types of situations, but there still is a chance that you will have a negative experience. Level 2 are life-threatening and altering diagnoses, which I would include in, being diagnosed with an autoimmune condition. it's not just for cancer or for other things. It's pretty serious. And normally by the time you get that, you've been around the block 5 or 10 years. And then level 3 are the ones that we're all familiar with, which are, you're in a huge accident and you're in the ICU and, you're in trauma care there. So, most people have some PTSD from that. And for level 2, for, when we've gotten to this place, we've gotten a bad diagnosis, we're going to experience distress. And again, it's over after this one. So one more. So one of the reasons I have this slide here, it's from another presentation. That's why it kind of doesn't really fit, but this is my attempt at talking to medical staff of how you can interact with your patients and in a way that is sensitive. And at the same time, learning about your own trauma reaction, because as we've talked about many times, our trauma is not an event, but a reaction. And we have certain reactions when we're in a bad doctor's appointment, and it kind of depends on our trauma expression of choice. Some people flee, some people fight, some people fight, other people fawn. And this happens within all kinds of interactions. And but it's also them, like, what is their response? So that's where you can get into trouble, where one person's responding one way and the other person gets triggered, like it's an angry person, and then the maybe the person treating him thinks of his dad and he just doesn't like him, and that can cause their interaction and the treatment to be not as ideal. So that's why I have this here, and it's important for us when we go to help our medical staff understand what's going on with us. Most of them, I think you'll find, are interested, the lower level ones. And, it's just good to kind of spread the word. Go ahead, sorry.
Sorry, I'm clicking on it, but it's not changing. There we go.
And then some of these causes are these impersonal interactions that we have, where sometimes we're not even looked at. Sometimes we're typed. We can tell within sort of minutes whether we're being taken seriously, and that's not always on the doctor. I mean, they're in impossible positions in many cases. Insensitive communication, their lack of understanding about trauma and illness can be incredibly minimizing when you are told, oh, you're in pain because you're anxious. Of course, I'm anxious. I'm in pain. It goes together. You would be anxious too if you were in pain and didn't know if it would go away. The length of time of the diagnosis is traumatic. Gaslighting is a term, that I really didn't know the meaning of until 2 years ago, which means someone makes you feel like you're crazy, that is not true. So you're saying, I have pain here, I have this, and they're saying, well, that's not right. And you're just being gaslit is what they say. And you can also gaslight yourself. Toxic stress is, it just affects us at all levels. Lack of access to medical care is a huge issue. If you can't get to a good provider or get the good care, that can make all the difference. People that are, in lower incomes do not live as long. And then the main cause, and the thing that we work on most here, invisible illnesses, are, just walking around with people not knowing you're in pain, not knowing how you're feeling, and feeling like you're the only person in the world that is walking around like that. And that's why we try to find other people, and there just doesn't exist a lot of options for this. Go ahead. So I just described gaslighting as dismissive, insensitive communication. minimizes you, says it's on your head. Then we can have internalized messages like, I think, my mom never believed me about any illness. So you start to believe, oh, I'm not really ill. I'm just overreacting, because we're told that perhaps. Okay. Isolation and loneliness are two different things, but together, they have a significant impact on the brain, both physically and physiologically. We are wired to be connected. It's evolutionary. So when we're isolated, even if we are okay about being alone, our mind has like a deep, seated need to be connected, and it begins to kind of stress out without us even knowing it. So a lot of people crave solitude, and so that is a different thing. But in general, this is this increases mortality by quite a bit, and it can affect your reasoning and your memory and your hormones and your glucose levels, and addressing any of the issues you're having. If you're not seeing people, you're carrying everything inside of you. So that's kind of how isolation works. Loneliness is perceived lack of people around you, where you can have 10 people in the same room and still feel lonely. Go ahead. And why are we also isolated? How illness causes this? It's time. I just kind of realized this recently when I'm sort of having like a flare up and I'm having to go back into that world. The appointments and the procedures and the recovery, it's time consuming. It's tiring going back and forth and having to get blood tests and do all that stuff. It just kind of takes you away from living the life you may want to be living. And satisfaction is important, and it's not like we're getting anything done going to medical appointments. It's not very satisfying when you think about that word, that we crave as humans to be satisfied. Obviously, we're not always satisfied, but we try to be close to it. Being misunderstood and invalidated can make people not want to be around us. Like they might think, oh, it's all in their head, or they talk too much about it, or I just don't want to be around that. And people may go away. And also, if you're not able to participate in activities where there are other people, it's easy for them to sort of leave you behind when you stop showing up. And then, as we're talking about life satisfaction and living, we are not pursuing our life goals. Actually, what we can do about this is to change our life goals with the illness. But our initial, what we wanted to be, what our identity was, what we planned, when that doesn't happen, we grieve it. So there's a shift in your identity from I was a trauma nurse and now I'm home in bed 2 days a week. What am I? What's my worth? It's just a loss. And this happens in all types of things, not just chronic pain. Retiring often is difficult, where people identify with their jobs. Any life transition is interesting because you do change your identity, and it always seems to have kind of it takes a couple of years, I think, and then you look back and go, oh, okay, I see that change. Okay, that's not me anymore. Next. So like I was saying, there's a threat when we're isolated. Our body is under threat. If we do not have other people, we become deeply stressed in a way that we don't understand, and our body reacts similarly. This can be easily cured by just after this, talk, if you're feeling like this, just getting outside and going somewhere where there are other people, and having a little chat with somebody, can be enormously helpful. I don't know if you have a dog park near you or another park where you can sit on a bench and, you know, hang around. That can help. It's not great. It's still not great, but it's necessary. And also going outside helps soothe the physiological effects of loneliness. Just by being outside neurobiologically, that helps our brain. Maybe not isolation, but everything is experienced in a severity based on what your brain is doing at that particular moment. So, any change in anything, mood increase, pain relief can help you to tolerate more being isolated, if that makes sense. Because you've just had maybe a satisfying experience, or at least came back and I talked to a person, and I know it's not much. Sometimes it starts small. When my kids were really young and I was in a lot of pain, I would just go to the dog park in the morning, and I had one friend, and we met at the dog park every day, and that was it. That was my daily interaction for a couple of years. So, and it got me through. Next. So I was touching on this. Loneliness is the distressing feeling of being alone or separated, and social isolation is the lack of social contacts. So, like I say, you may have 10 friends and still be lonely, feel alienated. Depression makes this happen. Anything traumatic it makes you very lonely. And so just by coming here, you're working on that loneliness and isolation. And, I applaud you for doing that. So good. And so, but there's something called solitude, which is positive. Sometimes we choose to be alone in order to do things, create, sculpt, write, listen to music, go for a walk. And the person doing that is having quite a good, benefits so much from this type of, it's sort of a meditation kind of state, that it works in that way. I think, you get into your own mind and nature, and it just has amazing effects for some people. Not me. I don't like solitude. Probably if I was less isolated, I would. And it is true, after a certain amount of people a day, I do actually want to be alone. So I think as we age, it becomes more and more important. It's not the same as loneliness. It's a boat in a sea that does have other things around it, unlike this picture. But right here, Natalie's paddling her big SUP with 10 people to the boat to have a party. And it's not the same as loneliness. You're there, I'm good over here, it's nice, I want this space around me, look at it. But I could go over there if I was feeling lonely. I'm there right over there, so I don't feel threatened. I feel safe because there's someone I can wave to if I get into trouble, if my boat starts sinking.
Yeah, it sounds like, for me, as you're talking about it, it's like the difference between solitude and loneliness is maybe the choice. Like choosing to be alone makes it solitude, versus when you don't get to choose and you're alone, then it becomes loneliness, potentially.
Yeah, that pretty much sums it up. Yeah. We are involuntarily isolated and alone. So that's kind of how I look at it. I was talking about that in terms of, our lifestyle and how we've changed over years, and that we're very sedentary, but we're involuntarily sedentary. And then it becomes its own health problem. So that's why I can be incredibly minimizing some of the well-meaning things that people say. Because yeah, I am sedentary, but I can't be, believe me, if I could, I'd kick your butt. So next. And I just found some quotes and descriptions. It involves excruciating physical and mental suffering. It's painful, unwanted, and difficult to tolerate. It's a social equivalent of physical pain. It's a hunger and a thirst for connection that's not there. It's love with no place to go, which is what grief is. It's being without company and separated without others. Next. And so what do we do about this? We look for connection. And while loneliness has the potential to kill, connection has even more potential to heal. Dr. Vivek Murthy is the Office of the Surgeon General of the United States, and he is in his mission and project while he's been in office or whatever it is, has been about isolation. And so he's been getting the word out there about it. And I actually met him. He came to a Waves of Grief session in San Francisco, and he really wanted to see how the community came together. And so all you hear, we have a grief circle that we run, and the next one's July 15th, and I can put the details in there. And it doesn't have to be grief of a person. It can be grief of, your body. It's just a chance to get together on the beach and, speak intentionally to our losses, and benefit from being right by Mother Ocean. Negative emotions like loneliness, envy, and guilt have an important role to play in a happy life. These are the flashing signs that something needs to change. So in the therapy world, there's a thing called adjustment disorder. And that's when there's some kind of change happening in your life and you're pretty anxious, more anxious than normal or more sad than normal. And it usually lasts until you settle in and make some friends. And that's normal. I mean, not normal, but you can use some help. But depression, clinical depression, or severe anxiety are signs from our mind that something needs to change. Like, this isn't working. What's not working? Anything could be not, like a job could be not working. Like, this is causing me so much stress that I'm not functioning. And, then we go into like the contemplation period of, well, what can I do? I can see whatever I'm doing right now is not working. What will work? I don't know. I'm going to think about it. I'm going to contemplate it and come to an answer. And often we're not able to change the thing that needs to change, which is, our health. That's not true. We can change our health anytime in terms of improving our tolerance to how we feel and improve our mental health. And with that, we get more ability to be in pain and not be severely depressed. I mean, it's normal to be depressed and anxious when you don't know what's going on, but at some point in this journey, we get to a point where, okay, I'm pretty sure everything has been done medically, and I have to learn to live with these symptoms, and I have to figure out how to deal with these symptoms and have a quality of life. And that takes a long time, but it can be done. I'm living proof. Next. Oh, you can skip this one. And so how do we fight this? These are just some suggestions. Shift our focus to others. So helping people often helps you. Maybe you are in a Facebook group about chronic illness. Maybe there's a little boy 2 doors down who is kind of being ignored by his mom, and you go out and talk to him for half an hour. Look around you. There's somebody who who needs attention. You're not the only one, and often they will give right back to you. Always assume when you meet somebody that they like you. They have no reason not to like you. So go up to them knowing they like you and say hello and see what happens. And maybe sometimes they'll blow you off, but more than often than not, they will not, because they are lonely too. We are not the only lonely people. Like I said, it's a critical societal issue we're dealing with in our lifestyle, of all of us being in a family home, not near any neighbors and on computers. We're just living this extremely isolated life, and yet we think we're connected on social media and all of that, but it's not the same as face to face. It's better than nothing, though. For a hobby or interest, and maybe it's time to find a new one. Maybe there's one that you're grieving, I can't do it. Maybe think about another one. So you're not gonna be that happy about it. It sucks to lose. It really does suck when you can't do what used to make you feel better. And you want to have fun. I mean, we just want to have fun like everyone else that we see out there having fun. There are a lot of people not having fun in other houses. Outdoors is like critical. Nurture any connections you do have. I don't know. I just started recently, like 5 o'clock, my witching hours, just calling random old friends and passing an hour that way. Because I have friends, but not many that live here. So it can be very lonely at times, but they're just a phone call away. And they want your call too, because they're also lonely. Also, just assume that the person you're talking to is lonely as well. And sometimes, and I've learned this finally, sometimes they're waiting for the invite. They're not the type of person that organizes. And I am the type of person that organizes. And for a long time, I'm like, why aren't they inviting me? And I realized that I was the person that invites people, and that's okay. Because people appreciate that. It can feel kind of shitty sometimes, but anyway, embrace your alone time as much as you can. That's a hard one. I don't, embracing it's pretty hard, but you have to kind of embrace what's happening during your day, whatever it is. You can't wish it away all the time. If you're sitting at home and you're alone and everyone else is having fun, you sitting there and thinking, I'm having a shitty day and they're all having fun is not helpful. It's normal to feel that way, but it's not helpful. Rather, okay, I'm here, I'm not feeling well. I'll do something else. I'm not happy about it, but this is just what it is today. And maybe tomorrow will be better. And that's what I consider embracing it. It's just accepting it and knowing it is not permanent. Nothing is permanent. Nothing in the moment lasts forever. Think in moments. And talk to a professional. You're doing that right now. So yeah, and that's pretty much all I got. Wasn't really wanting to do a huge presentation because we all know this all too well. And rather sort of open up to questions, comments about how you feel.
I think something that, as you were talking, Tracy, about the like learning how to embrace the new reality or the alone time. And there was a question prompted by Deepak Chopra in one of my yoga classes recently. And it was like the question of thinking about what are the different things that you don't feel like you have choice over in your life right now, things that are just happening at you. And imagine waking up tomorrow and those being your choice and how that would shift and change. And so rather than these things are like happening to you and at you, and these are things outside of my control, but imagining what it would be like if it was your choice to have these things happen. And I've been like sitting with that and mulling with that a bit, because some of the things that are outside of my choice right now, I'm like, but I would never choose that for myself. And so why would, like, it's just hard to even like wrap my head around it. But with other parts, that's been really helpful for me to sit with, of like, okay, like what is, like, how do I choose, and how do I take this situation and choose within it to be able to make it what I want it. Like, what are the things that I do have control over and choice in, when there's can be a lot of
Yeah.
things happening.
What's
Like, I
that saying, like in 10 steps, like you can't change the things. What is it? Somebody know that? It's, oh my God. Change the things that can be changed, and I don't know. I can't remember. It's a very famous saying. But yeah, that's a great way to look at it. I never really thought about it that way, because then if something's not your choice, but it's still happening, then what?
Mhm.
You go by, well, I wouldn't choose this, but I'm stuck with it right now. So later I'll choose not, I don't know. Mm,
It was interesting. So I've been sitting with that a bit.
yeah. Yeah, that's a good one. And choosing also involves not choosing. Not being intentional is okay as well, letting things happen around you.
Mhm. Yeah, that's similar to the practice we did in the surf therapy session. The session last week was around choice and noticing what it feels like to say no, what it feels like to say yes, and what it feels like to say maybe, and being able to practice each of those and honor all of that. Because I think lots of times in life and in this culture, it's you have to say like a full body yes or a full body no, and sometimes we just don't know.
Yeah.
Or things are just happening too fast to like be 100% one way or the other. And so being able to welcome in the maybe as well and just see what happens.
Yeah. There's a really good podcast about making decisions. Do you know Samantha Bee is? She's she's a comedian, and she was on the Daily Show. She's a really smart Canadian woman. And then she had her own show, and she was like the only woman in late night. And now she's doing a podcast on choosing, on making decisions. And it's pretty interesting. Because making decisions, everyone does it differently. Um, some people, my parents' friend, Rose is her name. She could not choose a new kitchen. She still has the kitchen she had from 1970. She could just not do, she was just she's paralyzed with choices. My mother used to just think that was the weirdest thing. I'm like, yeah, she's got anxiety about a new kitchen, so oh well. Yeah. Any thoughts?
What was the name of the podcast again?
Oh God. The art of choosing.
You said Sarah B. is the
Samantha B. Here, I'll type it in then. Samantha B. She's really just a good person to listen to. Are any thoughts, Judy or Zena, about loneliness and isolation?
Actually, I know the danger. I knew the danger of all that, and I feel it on myself. That's what I'm trying to fight and kind of prevent it. And that's what I got engaged into community city college classes.
Yeah.
I love music, and I'm so grateful. In Russia, I used to study it, even played the instrument. So I am taking fifth class in a row of this music appreciation 2 classes. Plus, I'm taking brain fitness because I really feel that loneliness and depression and my migraine headaches, all kind of, they take toll on my memory and age, of course, and cognitive capabilities. And I know it because I used to be a mathematician, a scientist, and that's what I'm taking, kind of like a training on brain fitness. They have quite a good software.
Yeah.
And yeah, and even if I have a headache, of course, if it's too much to sit in the chair, I skip the class. But in 80%, I manage to sit in the chair, open the computer, and then it distracts me from my pain. That's what I noticed.
Yeah.
Even today, I came up to your class and I thought, okay, I will listen to 5 minutes because I have a headache and then go away. But no, I feel it just kind of getting better distraction. And I know that, and that's what I'm trying to do. It helps. Fighting like that.
Yeah. That's great. Feeding your intellect, learning, never stop. You can take classes the rest of your life and learn everything that you want. And yeah. And
Seeing people almost the same year after year in these windows,
yeah.
it's kind of also a support group.
Yeah.
It's nice.
Has it led to like actual friendships?
With them, some of them Russians, 3 of them, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, but with Americans, it's a little bit more difficult because I'm not a good driver. Unfortunately, from Rancho Penasquitos, you need to drive. Some of them also not, so it's difficult to get together. And with my headaches, I'm so unpredictable that even my daughter couldn't rely on me to help with grandkids because she said, Mom, you're so unreliable. How can I rely on you to pick up kids from school?
Oh,
Because you might have a headache and that's it. And that's what is difficult to invite people to me for the party. And it's difficult to promise that I will come to them because it might strike me from the morning. And but I'm okay with that of so many years. What can I say?
yeah.
But I'm trying my best to go to each performance is like in Conrad, and thanks God, my husband, he is supportive. He doesn't go with me, but at least he doesn't mind me buying tickets. No, know that I might lose them. No, lose money, which it happens in 50%. But I buy because very many, like Joyce Di Donato is coming in December. It's in opera voices, it's number 1 in the top 3, Joyce Di Donato. She is coming for Christmas. And of course, you need to buy ticket in advance. And yeah, I'm gonna do this. Hopefully my husband will go with me because he also likes opera, but it's like $150. And what can you do? Yeah.
What I hear from you is how much work it is to not be lonely.
Yeah, plus I started taking guitar classes to
Yeah.
learn the new instrument because even with the headache, I knew that I'm paying money, so I need to somehow to show up once a week with the homework. I need to do it, you know.
Yeah.
It kind of also pushes me. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do.
Mm.
That's what. Plus, also probably what helps me, I'm in remission, but I went through the depression. Yeah, my husband was very sick with Hep C, liver transplant. We went through all that. And yeah, so
Yeah.
it taught me
Yeah.
how to fight.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you're doing all of that. I'm glad that you're proactive. Judy, do you have any thoughts? You don't have to have any if you don't want.
Well, on the topic, a lot of what Zeno was saying and the question that Natalie brought up, which is what's within our control, what's without. So for context, I have had a chronic illness from a traumatic brain injury in 2019. And I think over the years, as my physical symptoms deteriorated, so did my social contact. And I think that like, yeah, like it's easier, as was mentioning, right? To like find solace and comfort in the things that are within one's control, especially with chronic illness, like, playing the guitar or like being able to enjoy in hobbies on our own time. But in terms of like social contact, I feel like that's something that I'm still struggling with, which is being able to work around other people's schedules and then also not like see myself as like flaky, for example, right? Because I'm really big